the participation licence to participate in the 2025 Super Rugby season was not granted to the consortium based on a lack of detail and transparency that we were provided recently. So we've had to make the very difficult decision that the men's Rebels team, and I note that it's only the men's team that we're making the decision on. The women's Rebels team will continue to assess that separately, and we'll continue to work with the Victorian Rugby Union in ensuring the delivery of the important community programs. This is a very difficult day for rugby, and it's a very difficult day for rugby fans in Melbourne, very difficult day for the fans, the players and the staff, but we felt that we had to get to a decision. We've been waiting for some time to allow the consortium to get as much information and as much detailed and accurate information to us to make a decision. That wasn't forthcoming to the satisfaction of what we would deem a reasonable level of risk. So, as I said, we've had to make that decision today for the 2025 season for the men's super season only.
I'll just add a few other comments. Post the Rebels entering voluntary administration, we've been working on three different scenarios. The first scenario for 2025 would be Rugby Australia supporting the Melbourne Rebels in the 2025 season. The second scenario was a reduction of teams, which would see the Melbourne Rebels no longer participate in the 2025 season. And then the third scenario was the consortium that would come in and fund the Rebels going forward. We've given an enormous amount of time to that consortium to come forward with information. We split that information into 5 different requests for information. The first one being financial viability, the second one being governance and risk, the third being commercial strategy, the fourth being high performance, and the fifth being growth of the game. We finally got the information, or some of the information that we'd requested middle of last week in a data room. We've analysed that information at great lengths, and then we met with one member of the consortium earlier this week, again giving the consortium every possible opportunity to put forward a compelling case to support the Melbourne Rebels in 2025. As Daniel said, this is the men's 15 team in the Super Rugby Pacific for 2025. We are absolutely committed to rugby in Victoria. So all our commitment into community game, into our pathways, into the women's pathways, we are committed to rugby in Victoria, and we'll continue that commitment. And we look forward to working with, as Daniel said, Rugby Victoria, Visit Victoria, and the Victorian Government in investing in rugby in Victoria. Thank you.
Any questions?
How damaging is this to Rugby Union's brand in Victoria? You say you're committed to it, but is there any coming back for a Super Rugby team in the state?
Yeah, so we've got an open mind. I think we've been put under enormous pressure on the timeline that we need to work to in terms of giving players certainty into their futures and staff certainty into their futures. Let's be clear, the administrator made all the employees of management redundant the day that they took over. We stood up the Rebels for 2024. We employed 83% of the Rebels management staff. The relationship we have with the Players Association through the collective bargaining agreement ensured that the players were protected. So Rugby Australia has stood up the Melbourne Rebels in 2024, and it was important for us to do that. Equally, it was important for us to give the consortium time to put a compelling position forward. In terms of the reputation of rugby in Victoria, we see strong growth in the community game. Certainly the performance of the Rebels in 2024 going through to the finals is pleasing, and the growth of the women's game is also pleasing. So it is not an ideal situation having to reduce or remove the Rebels from participating in Super Rugby Pacific. However, I'll keep coming back to the fact that we have limited resources, we have limited finances, and we need to invest in the game that's going to drive the greatest connection to community as well as uplifting participation. And we're committed to that. And as I said, we're committed to working with the Victorian Government to drive activity across the state.
Jill, how much does the Rebels cost you this season? So when they went collapsed and you've taken over 83% of their payroll, what's the bill for Rugby Australia?
Again, it's obviously some of the financial modelling that we've gone through and looking forward into 2025, but it's in excess of $6 million.